Good morning. It is Thursday, October 5th, 10 a.m., and I'm calling to order the Finance Administration Committee. First up on the agenda is our public comments. Please address your public comments to the chair. It is Thursday, October 5th, 10 a.m., and I'm calling to order the Finance Administration Committee. First up on the agenda is our public comments. Please address your public comments to the chair. That's pretty funny. To chair, they're 3 minutes in duration. And please come forward with public comments. Seeing, going once, twice. Seeing no public comments, we'll move on. All right, to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
A motion to approve the agenda. Support.
Is there any discussion? All right, we can go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next are the consent resolutions. So there's just one item, and it's approval of the minutes from September 19th, 2023, Finance and Administration Committee Special Work Session. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there support?
Support. Madam Chair.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is this
quick question.
discussion?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Item FC 23-143. So I guess I'm kind of unaccustomed to see statements inside the minutes. I think at the end it says per Commissioner Miedema and Commissioner Moss, the following was asked to be made on the record. Is that something that is going to go forward? Was that a one-off? Is that something that other commissioners will be able to avail themselves of in the future, or?
And I had reached out to Rachel to amend that so that those statements would come through the chair, but the record actually needs to reflect exactly what is said.
Okay. So, but any commissioner would have the opportunity and right to avail themselves of statements on the record inside the minutes.
We'd have to probably take a look at Robert's Rules of Order, but we've already made that decision to do so.
Okay. So what kind of statements could be made on the record? I
would
mean, I
have to-
understand that this statement was kind of clarifying a couple of commissioners' point of view on the motion and on the vote. What would be the frame of reference or the kind of comments that could be made on the record?
I could make
Commissioner Moss.
a recommendation, since I believe that question was asked of legal. We didn't have the answer quite yet. We're just waiting until we get an answer back in the next couple of days.
Commissioner Moss, could you clarify what that means? I mean,
Commissioner Zylstra, some of the questions you just asked were asked of legal
okay,
to get additional clarity. And
Sure.
so it might be good to just give them the time
okay.
to do a little review and then get back to you.
But one of the questions asked was that whether the minutes can indeed absorb some sort of a discussion. Was that, Commissioner Moss, was that one of the questions asked of legal?
Essentially, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then should we approve these minutes without having some sort of resolution on that issue? I mean, I guess there are two questions. I mean, whether the minutes can absorb discussion or
The minutes
Statement.
actually follow what was stated
Commissioner.
during.
Okay.
Just a minute.
Okay.
It's actually what was stated in video. So for accuracy, that's what's within.
No,
the minutes
yeah, I
right
don't-
Now,
sure, I'm not disputing that at all. I'm just questioning there's two questions. One, is this going to be a practice of allowing statements to be placed in the minutes? And that seems to be a question of council. And then
We've
two, what
asked the-
kind of statements can be placed?
and we've asked the
minutes.
question,
Both
and
of
I
those.
don't want to do this spontaneously without
Sure.
having legal counsel.
Right, but I'm just
So-
trying to clarify that both those questions were asked of legal, correct?
That's fine. And we'll ask those, you've just asked those two questions of.
No,
legal,
no, no,
correct?
no. I mean, Commissioner Moss said that those two, were those two questions asked Commissioner Moss of legal, or was it just one question asked of legal?
If you'd like to talk after the meeting, Commissioner Zylstra, and meet with legal, I'd be happy to talk with you. And
For sure.
Answer,
I guess I
yeah.
just want that clarification before we approve the minutes, Because once we approve the minutes, it seems as if we've ratified the idea that you can put something in the minutes.
It's my
That kind of-
understanding that the chair asked that be added to the minutes.
Which you were included on that email. When I asked. Commissioner
Cosby.
Miedema,
Out of respect for Commissioner Zylestra's question on this, I guess I would make a motion to move approving the minutes to the next month. So we would table it.
Okay.
I would like to make that motion, and that would allow your questions to be adequately addressed. And I think that's fair to see if that's something that, according to Robert's rules, was something that should have been put in there or not, or if it should have been restated as Chair Cosby had stated. So I would like to make a motion to table approving these minutes to the next finance meeting.
I'll second that for sure.
Okay,
so you're amending this motion to table, or we just,
I would motion to table approving the minutes of the September 19, 2023 Finance and Administration Committee Special Work Session to the November Finance and Administration meeting.
do we have support?
I did support that.
You support it? All right, so go to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to the action, agenda and action request. Number one is statement of review. Suggested motion is to approve the statement of review. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, can we go to a roll call vote?
I think you can do.
We can just,
the
because they're
voice vote for
numbers,
this
okay,
one,
so
yeah.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Perfect, motion passes. Number two is accounts payable for August 28th, 2023 through September 22nd, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Right, and is there discussion? Seeing no discussion, we can go to a roll call vote this time. Thank you.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey. Yes. Mr. Zylstra.
Yeah.
Mrs. Miedema,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel. Yes. Ms. Cosby,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to action item number three, it's the 2022 Administrative and IT Cost Allocation Plans. The suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the 2022 Cost Allocation Plan and 2022 Innovation and Technology Department Allocation Plan for implementation in the 2024 budget. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Support.
Is there discussion of Karen here for any questions?
Just a little bit of background. These plans are, after we finalize the budget, the actuals, and they're audited and we have our financial statements, we hire a firm to come in and allocate overhead charges. So all of the fiscal administration, corporation counsel, HR costs are accumulated and they're allocated using acceptable allocation methodologies so that we can bill federal grants. After these documents are finalized, they're forwarded to MDHHS specifically for the child support reimbursement process through the front of the court. So this is an annual acceptance of these documents that have been prepared and included in the budget for next year, for the current year, 24.
Further questions of Karen? Seeing none, thank you very much for the thorough explanation. All right. We are at the point of roll call vote to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the 2022 Cost Allocation Plan and 2022 Innovation and Technology Department Allocation Plan for implementation in 2024 budget.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra.
Yes.
Mrs. Miedema,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel. Yes. Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you. Moving on to action item number 4. It's the request to reclassify one community mental health program coordinator to a program supervisor. The suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the request from Community Mental Health to reclassify one program coordinator position to a pay grade of 13 to one program supervisor to a pay grade of 15 at a cost of $1,671. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I don't see. Yep. Just in the back, but if there's no discussion, do you want to come up and explain, or it's pretty straightforward too? Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Zach, the Assistant HR Director. So this position oversees all of the IT aspects for community mental health, including the electronic health record, which we know is the backbone of the system of CMH. They do a lot of program evaluation and data reporting. The previous deputy director at CMH, that was his skill set. Rich has since left, went on. There's been a new deputy director, Anna. Anna and Lynn have talked about the leadership team, where the needs are at CMH, and that has changed from IT to something else. So now there's no one on the leadership team that has the EHR background, the IT background. So they're really looking to promote this person that's currently here up to that higher level so they can serve on the leadership team and help make some of those strategic decisions. It's all funded with current appropriation, so no budget adjustment will be needed.
Wonderful. Is this somebody internal that you have
Yep.
in mind? Good,
Yeah.
yeah. Learning in EHR is difficult.
Yes, it
definitely.
is.
Yes, so if you've got a skill set inside, excellent.
Yeah.
Are there any questions of Zach? Looks like no. Thank you, Zach, very much. All right. So the motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners, a request from Community Mental Health to reclassify one program coordinator position to pay grade 13 to a program supervisor, pay grade 15 at a cost of $1,671. We'll go to a roll call vote.
Mrs. Ebo,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Moving on to action item number 5, the request to upgrade 3 chief clerk positions from a pay grade of 10 to a grade 12. Suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the request from District Court to upgrade the 3 chief clerks of the court's positions from pay grade 10 to pay grade 12 at a cost of $14,477.22. I think we have Judge Knoll here today. Would you like to come up and share with us? Thank you.
Can you do the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, Madam Chair,
Sorry, do I have a motion?
yes.
Get you.
Second.
All right, now we're discussion.
Okay, was that motion to let me come up and speak?
You come on up and speak. Now it's discussion. We were going to get there. I'm just off a little bit. Thank you.
Oh, that's fine. Good morning. I'm Brad Canal. I'm the Chief Judge of the 58th District Court in Holland, and I've been in that position going on 15 years. This is the first opportunity I've had to appear before the Finance Committee. Normally, our management staff takes care of that project. They're all up north this week at conference. So Lori Catalino called me yesterday and asked me to do it. Otherwise, I'm sure they wouldn't have dared to let me appear. But she assured me that we were in good shape on this request. We had solid justification in our summary of the request. We've gotten the recommendation from the administrator. Thank you, Administrator Gibbs. So at the end of the phone call, I said, it's almost a done deal. And if it doesn't happen, it'll be all my fault. And she said, yes, that's exactly the way it's going to be. So I don't want to talk you out of anything here. Just a brief overview of how the district courts operate on a management model. It's a little bit different from the typical management models, top down, high management, middle management staff, because we have, like universities and hospitals, the courts have this overlay of professionals, doctors, judges, professors, who are also somewhat involved in the management process. And the idea then is to produce an environment that helps those players do their job. They have the the judges flatter themselves into thinking that they're the management people, but they're not. But our staff makes it possible for us. And as far as that model is concerned, our chief clerks are sort of a lightning rod. Like my job, they make dozens of decisions on a daily basis with little opportunity to fully contemplate those decisions. They're the communication point between not just our internal staff, but all sorts of external players, a half dozen law enforcement agencies, prosecutor's office, defender's office, attorneys and litigants in the civil field. So it's a tough job. We have excellent chief clerks and obviously want to keep them there. And we operate in a competitive environment. We compete with the private sector, the governmental sector, and we have a history of poaching on each other here in Grand Haven or in the Ottawa County system. And in order to keep qualified staff, we need to be at a competitive level of compensation. And I think that our request here accomplishes that. We're going to be replacing one of our chief clerks in the near future through retirement. We want to be on an even playing field when we're seeking out qualified applicants. So we hope you will consider positively or favorably our recommendation to bump the chief clerks up. They've earned it, I think. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Rhodey, sorry.
Not so much a question, but just want to say from having worked with Kent County in their court system, I absolutely found your chief clerks to be such an important position. So I fully support, this. I fully support this motion as an effort for you guys to be able to keep your qualified staff there working with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment.
You may or may not know the answer to this question, but how long does it take to actually train a chief clerk to the point of competence? Is that years or?
Yeah, because so much of it is experience.
Right.
And there's a certain amount of institutional knowledge that can be passed along. And there's a lot of intercommunications between our administrator, Lori Catalino, and the other chief clerks. They meet with each other regularly so that issues can be decided. So I would think that a person who had never worked in a court environment, which hopefully that wouldn't be who we'd be hiring, but to being a chief clerk, that'd probably be over a course of 12 to 24 months that they'd be fully qualified.
So difficult to replace.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to keep them.
Absolutely. Any further comments or questions? Oh, sorry, Commissioner.
I heard, Judge, that it's kind of a potential that at times some of the staff at one level court were kind of, I think you mentioned maybe picked to go to the other level court. So one was left a little bit more unstable than the other after the years of getting training and, competence in the position, and then they're grabbed for the other court. Is that kind of the case?
Well, I don't know how much instability it produces, other than the fact that the person has to be replaced. Lori Catalino came to us from the circuit court clerk's office and does a marvelous job for it. My court reporter is now the chief administrator at the public defender's office. I told her I'd fire her if she didn't take the job, because it was a real promotion for her. But so you have that, and you have to make up for it. And in an ideal world, we'd be able to find people from the outside, but we get to know the people on the inside, and there's a higher level of trust that's been developed. If you can go to another department head and say, how did this person work out for you? They would say, they were great. Or if they were really great, they'd say it was terrible and don't take her. So it produces instability, but it's a fact of life. I mean, obviously these employees can move laterally or move out of the government sector, however they can find employment.
And constant succession planning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, our judges are agents. We have to work on our succession planning with that. I'm on my last term, so
wow.
We'll see what happens.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. All right, you're a great stand-in. So the request is to upgrade 3 chief clerk positions from a grade 10 to a grade 12. And the request is from the district court to upgrade 3 chief clerk of the court positions from pay grade 10 to 12 at a cost of $14,477.22. I'll go to roll call vote.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby,
Yes.
motion passes.
Wonderful. Moving on to action item 6, term extensions, Holstig purchase agreement. Suggested motion is to recommend and forward to the Board of Commissioners and the clerk and registrar for signatures. An addendum to execute purchase agreement between Ottawa County and Thomas W. Holstig. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Is there discussion? I don't know if we have anybody representing here. Commissioner Medema, do you know anything about
yep.
this particular?
Becky.
Oh,
Becky's
Becky,
here.
sorry. Thank
Yep.
you. Hi, Becky.
Morning. Do you have questions or would you like me just to describe it?
Would you describe it?
Yep.
Would you mind?
Yep.
Thank you.
On November 8, 2021, Ottawa County entered a purchase agreement with Tom Holstig. That purchase agreement is to buy the development rights to 38 acres of ground in Zealand Township. The term of our purchase agreements is typically 2 years. Generally speaking, we get the projects done within that time frame. Tom's is taking a little bit longer, so we need to extend the term of that purchase agreement. And per the provisions of the original, we need to do that by written instrument, and that is the action request you have before you today.
Wonderful. Are there any questions, Becky? No, seeing none. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll go to a roll call vote.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby,
Yes.
motion passes.
Wonderful. Moving on to number 7, action item 7 is pest control services contract. Suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners a 3-year contract with Shoreline Services, Inc. for pest control services at Ottawa County facilities. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Is there discussion? I know Blake was here. Seems straightforward, Blake.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the contracts before you this morning are ones that were, we entered into those just before I hired into the county. And in the process of cleaning up said contracts and getting language better and services better, we've struggled with the previous vendor that we had a contract with. We had a lot of bug problems around the county. So this is actually a better service. It's a local vendor. The timing of it, we were doing more with it, hence the increased cost. But this was budgeted for our 24 budget, so it's all funded.
Does that fit within the confines of the previous organization? Is this a new vendor?
It's a new vendor.
New vendor.
The
Okay. The
previous vendor-
budgeted.
Yeah.
Budget amounts.
Mhm. Yep. The previous vendor was not necessarily a local company. This is a smaller local vendor out of Holland.
Wonderful. Are there any questions of Blake?
Just curious, what type of pests, are we dealing with?
Well, we live out here in the woods, so there's a lot. From feral cats to really what we see out here is a lot of the scientific name escapes me. It's a stink bug. We get those in the fall. We get Japanese beetles. Fact check for folks. Who knew there are multiple types of cockroaches?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't. The one that you're all looking for that's on CSI is a German cockroach. Those are the bad ones. There's also a woodland cockroach that we have out here that tends to get into the building and really concerns people because they look very similar. So we'd like to eliminate them.
That sounds like a really good plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and you're up for the next action item. If you want to stay there, it's totally to your discretion. So We're going to go ahead and the motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners a 3-year contract with Shoreline Services, Inc. for pest control services at Ottawa County facilities. Go to a roll call vote.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel,
Yes.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. Action item number 8, snow removal services contract amendment. Suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners a 1-year contract with Landscape Design for snow removal services. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there discussion? Blake is here.
Thank you. So when I got here, we had just entered into a contract with a new vendor after an RFP process. It was decided on before I actually started. And we had some struggles. The service level wasn't up to par. We had meetings with the vendor, went through, and there was just a philosophical difference in how we viewed what the contract language was. So last year we worked with purchasing and we cut back their scope to see if they could do better, kind of consolidate their equipment. And while they did better, they did not achieve what we were hoping. So we have an existing contract with Landscape Design for several of our facilities already when we took them away last year from the existing vendor. So this year we're just rolling that in there to unify across the board. Next summer, we'll be able to go out for a full RFP of all of our stuff.
Are there questions? Any comments? Seeing none, I've used Landscape Design. They're excellent. So
They are,
Yeah.
they're kind of I'd like to see more competitiveness in our bids from the standpoint of more vendors, but we are fairly sizable and spread out. So it's difficult for a lot of local contractors to come in and service our account.
Yeah.
We're working with purchasing to come up with alternative. How can we offer more to more people for more opportunity? And
Excellent.
we'll
Staying
work through it.
local too. Yeah, they have staffing issues
Mhm.
as we all do.
Yep.
So,
We sure do.
all right. So the suggested motion again is to approve to the Board of Commissioners a 1-year contract with Landscape Design for snow removal services. Can we go to a roll call vote?
Mrs. Ebel. Yes. Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Commissioners.
Blake. All right. Action item number 9 is FY23 budget adjustments. Suggested motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners 2023 budget adjustments per attached schedule. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Is there discussion? Commissioner Zylstra.
It's a quick question, Karen. And on jail makeup air units new, it says appropriate funding to approve capital projects, but that's what the whole block is doing, right?
That whole 0103.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
so that
Sorry.
is, right, so that's basically reallocating the general fund
Right.
support for all those
And
projects.
those are all the ones that are entering in the 2024 window, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and it agrees with what was approved in
Okay.
the CIP.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions of Karen? We've stayed. All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and we will approve budget adjustments with this motion.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, on to action item 10 and the last one, 2023 Ottawa County Apportionment Report. Suggested motion is to approve the 2023 Ottawa County Apportionment Report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Right, and discussion. Good morning.
Good morning. Not gonna lie to you, it's gonna be hard to compete with the German cockroaches, but I'm gonna do my best with this report. So you have before you the Ottawa County apportionment report. And in a lot of ways, that is the culmination of the tax cycle for our department. If you remember this spring in April, the Board of Commissioners approved the equalization report, and that establishes the values that we use for taxation. What we do then is we take those values and we develop all of the required fractions and multipliers that need to be applied to the levy rates that get applied to the tax values that are approved. So we go through and we create the millage reduction fractions, the base tax rate fractions, the truth in taxation rollback fractions, and the truth in equalization rollback fractions, all of which are fancy fractions to roll back the levy rates that are applied. We then take those levy rates and we send them to all of the jurisdictions that want to levy a millage in Ottawa County. And we essentially, we tell them this is the maximum that you can levy. We do it preemptively. We send it to them just ahead of time. And then we also audit it afterwards to make sure that they comply. The levying institutions then reply back with what is a millage rate request form. We take those millage rate requests and we compile them. And that is what you see in the apportionment report in front of you today. What you're actually approving is the apportionment report on pages 4 through 7. That is the summary. All of the other pages in that report are you might say a way of displaying the results of what the effect that will have once those millage rates are applied. One of the things I was going to say is just that while I stand up here and present this, I can do that confidently because of the staff that supports me. And I know you guys understand how that works. One in particular in my office is Lori Brassard, who is with us here today. And she does a lot of work, countless hours working with all of the jurisdictions and the school districts and everybody that wants to levy a millage rate. And she does a fantastic job doing that. So I want to recognize her for that. The other thing is that while these are accurate today, or at least I believe them to be accurate today, the voters do have one more opportunity yet to increase their tax burden. And that is in the November ballot measure. There's only one on the ballot this year that would change these numbers, and that is in Jamestown Township. They have a library millage that they've been trying to pass for a number of times now. That goes on the ballot again in November, and if that passes, you will see me back here in December to amend this report. If it does not, this report will stand as it is. The only other thing I was going to mention, and I think this is probably a clerical issue. I don't know if this was my mistake or not, but I noticed in the agenda minutes that it says to approve the 2023 Ottawa County Apportionment Report, and it should actually read to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners. I don't think I can make that motion, but I think that would be viewed as a friendly motion if you decided to accept that.
Chair, I'll make that motion.
You'll make that motion.
Any other questions for me? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Brian.
So I heard a motion. I'll second that.
Well, and I can read it as the amendment too. So the motion on the table right now is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the 2023 Ottawa County Apportionment Report. I'll go to a roll call vote.
Mr. Belknap,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mrs. Ebel,
Yes.
Ms. Cosby,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you. And today, committee reports. Our treasurer Amanda Price is out. She's going to give us her report next month, both reports. So next up is public comments, a second opportunity at public comments. Please come forward and address your comments to the chair. You have 3 minutes. Going once, going twice. Seeing no public comments, I'm going to say this meeting is adjourned.